Hi there. This is Two Legs Better, and this episode I'm going to talk about Buckeye football, Ohio State Buckeyes, and Ohio State Buckeyes just won the national championship in the couple, well, less than 2 months ago, and now the college football is facing so many changes, and in the last couple of days, last Thursday actually, it's just a couple of days ago. Actually, the all the new coaching staff came to see the press. So they hold a press conference and to answer all the questions. And this is the first time after the national championship game, I think, when they have the press conference. And a lot of things have changed after the championship, and the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator and offensive line coach, they all left, and they are. Brian Hartline was promoted to the new offensive coordinator. This is the second time he was promoted, and then Ryan Day hired Matt Patricia as the defensive coordinator. They also hired several very experienced people as analysts. So there were a lot of changes, and a lot of things have changed as well. You think about the Buckeyes in the past several years for Ryan Day. My feeling, my experience is that he was under tremendous pressure. The pressure is like every year is mounting higher. In 2019, he almost got to the championship game, and then 2020, the COVID started and things kind of go wacky, and then all the losses and stuff, and things like that. Although he's one of the top winningest coach in football, but he's under tremendous pressure. But this year is different because he won the national championship, and a lot of things are kind of maybe not totally forgiven, but it's on hold now. He has some leeway now, and apparently he has more resources as well. So I want to comment on three things from the conferences. The press conferences, from all these answers, but mostly from the coach's perspective. So the first one I want to comment on is I want to listen to why he hired Matt Patricia, and this is a pretty intriguing answer here, and it's not that well. Let's see what This is the opening question. That's the first question he was getting.
Today's proceedings with Stephen Means, Cleveland.com, and we got a lot of people here, so I'm going to keep the questions to one apiece.
The process of how you ended up identifying Matt Patricia as the guy who would be your defensive coordinator, was that someone maybe you thought about early on, or did maybe things develop?
No, you can tell that we were very thorough in how we went about the process. It took some time. One of the things that people ask me all the time, like, what are the biggest learning lessons every year that you learn as a head coach? And one of them is to make sure that you're thorough in the your hiring process, that you bring in the right fit. And I felt like Matt was that guy for a lot of reasons. I think the first one is his experience. Coaching 19 years in the NFL. He's coached in 6 Super Bowls, has 3 Super Bowl rings. It was important. So the experience speaks for itself. I think he's one of the best minds in the game. But also, pairing him with Tim Walton as a co-coordinator, pairing him with Larry Johnson, Matt Guerrieri, James Laurinaitis. That was important to have continuity. When you interview certain coordinators, they have an idea of what they want to do. They want to come in and run their style of defense. They want to, bring in their own guys. So that was the first thing. The second thing. And so part of that was having somebody that was willing to work with the guys that were in the room. That was very important. And I just want to make sure that I, really praise the guys in that room. And, having Tim Walton as a co-coordinator there is a huge part of our defense. And he was this year, and so was Matt, and so was Larry, and all those guys. But, I think Matt and Tim working together as the coordinators is going to be critical. I think that we need to continually look at how we have to evolve with our defense. And Matt brings a different approach to the game in terms of he's run different styles of fronts in the past. He's been multiple in what he's done. And I think when you look at his defenses, they've always utilized their players. And I think we've talked about that a lot, especially on offense. How do we put our players in best position to be successful? I also, studied how Nick Saban went on his run and he brought in different offensive court.
I want to comment on this. He just casually say, I also studied how Nick Saban run his staff. Now, he hired a defensive coordinator from who worked for the GOAT, that's Bill Belichick, and he also studied the other GOAT, that's Nick Saban. Actually, last year he also hired the offensive coordinator from Nick Saban, that's Bill O'Brien, but it didn't work out. But you can clearly see where he's going, what he's trying to do. He's not hiding his ambition. What I like about this is how casual it is. He didn't no expression at all. Just I studied Nick Saban.
Coordinators, you think about that run. It was Lane Kiffin, it was Sarkisian, it was Daboll. It was Mike Loxley, it was Bill O'Brien. A lot of different coaches, but they kept a lot of the defense intact, and we want to make sure that our identity of what we do on defense stays intact as we have movement on our staff. So, all those things led me down this road of Matt, who even in a short period of time, has already worked hard on building relationships with the staff, with the players, and his experience is going to have credibility the minute he walks in that room of the guys that he's coached, the teams, and his experience on the field. And now that we're playing in a longer season, understanding, how that goes and playing in the playoffs, I think all those were reasons that we ended up with Matt.
Over to the right, Don Taveri, WBNS.
I personally, I like the hire of Matt Patricia. I know his reputation. He worked as a defensive coordinator with Belichick for a long time. So a lot of people say it's all Belichick. It's not him. Well, maybe that's true. But he's also he got to be smart enough. Good enough to hold that position for that long. And he was in 6 Super Bowls. So, and a lot of the criticism were from his as a head coach at Detroit Lions in the NFL. And he himself mentioned that in one of the interviews, he said that his mindset was that because in New England, if you lose in Super Bowl, you come back, you're pissed. You're basically saying, we got to correct something. But Detroit never, they were not like that. They didn't lose in the Super Bowl. They were not even close to that. So his mindset didn't really work there. I think that's how he interpreted that, right? But I think he could be a very good fit at Ohio State. Is for one, he's going to be much more humbled and experienced because he knew that you can't really speed things up because this is a teaching time. You can't really just force things to happen. And now, especially when he was facing the college athletes, these are people. They are not supposed to know everything. They are good, but they don't know everything. So you're there to teach them. So that will give him the correct perspective. So he will be humble. He will be in the teaching mode. I think that would help him a lot. And I don't worry too much about how he interacts with the players because to the players, what they respect most is, are you good or what? Are you really good at your job? So he has the Super Bowl rings and he clearly knows his stuff. I don't think that's a problem for him to earn respect from the players. So I think I personally like the hire. I think it's a good hire. Okay, and the other thing, the second one, I want you to listen. That's what I take away is. James Laurinaitis talk about leadership. So this is also intriguing to me. Let's listen.
It's a lot of it is just preparation. I think when you're a young player, there's so much to learn, and sometimes it just goes back to habits. And we talked about it a lot last year, and he got way better as the season went on. But it's habits and then it's leadership. And I think what we've seen so far in the winter is him taking a more like active leadership role. And obviously Sonny is a great leader for us, but you kind of see the development of Arvell being a leader as well. And Malcolm Jenkins talked to our guys last year, and I thought he had a great message for everybody. He said, like, everyone should want to be like the leader or like the captain of their class. And it's like a mindset. So I've kind of adopted that. And obviously Malcolm and I played together, but the whole idea of, like, if you're Peyton Pierce or Garrett Stover, you guys should both be like the leaders of your class. You know what I mean? And then obviously that trickles down to, you know, TJ, Riley, and Eli. But it's just a mindset. It's a mindset anyway. If you're a linebacker, you just naturally have to be a leader. You got to communicate so much. So it's getting him to kind of, for Veli, get out of his shell, which he did last year. And I on purpose, you know, would roomed him with like Cody Simon on the road for multiple reasons. Make sure that he was awake and coming to meetings on time. But just like there was a maturity, obviously, that Cody had, having gone through it, and pairing him with Veli. But he's had a phenomenal winter so far, and I'm excited to see him compete here once we get back.
That's how you try to coach that, huh? Because in essence, when
What separates great thinkers and the okay thinkers?
somebody to be a leader, pair them with a leader.
I mean, yeah. I think a lot of times, you know, leadership, it's hard. Like, you can try to teach leadership for sure, but a lot of it's like, it's just caught. You know what I mean? Like, when you're around it, you just see it. And everybody has a different style. So that's one of the things I've stressed to Arvell. I've even stressed it to Sonny. Like, you guys don't have to be Cody Simon. Just because Cody Simon was a great leader, he did it in his way. Like, if you try to be somebody else and you're not authentic to yourself and your own personality, then the locker room will notice. You know, like, if you're a guy who's pretty quiet and all of a sudden you're trying to give all these uncomfortable rah-rah speeches and it's not who you are, like, that's not going to go over well. You know what I mean? And you see, I've always seen people do that. And so you have to get comfortable in, like, who you are. AJ Hawk was a great leader. AJ barely said anything when we were at practice. But then when AJ spoke, you're like, okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but he was quiet. He did everything right. He worked his tail off. So there's ways to be a leader and to encourage guys. Some guys are encouragers, and then they go and find a way to move the room by being, you know, one-off conversations. And then there's some guys who can be screamers. And some of that, too, is like, who are you leading? If player A might not respond well to you just trying to yell at him loud, he might need a, you know, encouragement, then pull him aside and be like, hey, I know you got more than that. You know what I mean? We need you. We're depending on you. But it has to be one-on-one. Because if you embarrass him in front of the group, they'll shut down. Where player B can be like, you can yell at him all you want, and he'll be fine. You know what I mean? So, like, you have to know your teammates. That's part of leadership. And so it takes time. It takes time each and every day with everyone that you play with. And it's the same thing as a coach, right? Like, it takes time. You need to invest time in your guys so that they know that you care about them. That way you can be hard on them. If you don't invest that time and you're just trying to yell or motivate, it's just going to go in one ear out the other. So leadership's the same way.
Larry, I think this is something that probably all of us have talked about at times over the years. So I'll just ask it.
Yep.
Was there anything in Jim Knowles' time here where his style of defense and your style of defense did not exactly mesh?
No, never.
Why do you think we think that?
Because you guys think he's a 3-4. You guys looked at his system at Oklahoma and thought that way he's going to bring the jack thing here. You know what I mean? That's what you thought, right? And so when you looked at that, everybody was looking for a 3-4 defense. But you got to remember, we have all these 4-3 guys here. And so you have to change the way you recruit if you're going to change the defense, the scheme set, right? And I think we tried Jack Sawyer at that position to do it, right? And then as the season went on and teams were playing offensively, you know what I mean? It was predicate to more and having 4 guys on the field and changing it up. So it would never like I don't chase stories and lies out there because nobody's asking me this question here first. But Jim and I had a really great conversation about what we were doing. There was never a moment where hey, I don't want the 3-4. There was never that. It's like, what's the best fit for our players and how can we get them to compete? And that was always the conversation with us, and to this day. And the story was made up about there was conflict. There was no conflict. Maybe because I said, well, I don't know about the jack. You know, I don't know what. At that time, we don't know what we're going to do with the jack. But I knew that we felt Jack Sawyer was a decision between coach and I that, like, let's get Jack Sawyer back to defensive end, and that's when, well, let's go to another jack position guy to do it. But we never did it again. You know, we never got back to the full defense because it changed what you do. No doubt, question about it. It's a different scheme, a different thing we do, and you got to live by it. But in the Big Ten offense, man, there's so many different ways, formations, that you can get that guy caught in the alley and trying to play that. You know, so it's tough.
When did it bother you that story?
Yeah.
That story was out there. How much did it bother you that the story was out there that you and Knowles weren't seeing eye to eye?
Yeah, you know, here's what I say to you. It doesn't bother me because I know who I am as a man, as a person, right? And so I'm never going to chase lies that people are talking about what I did. I mean, it was amazing. Like, people sent it to them, and I wouldn't refuse to read it because that's not who I am. I mean, Jim and I had a great relationship. It never came down to that. I don't have to ultimate him. It was never that. But the story got created, which is unfair, but it got created somehow with someone on a podcast, I guess, trying to get clicks or something. I don't know, man. I don't read that stuff. But no, that it didn't bother me because I'm not chasing a lie. I know who I am as a person. I speak very high in my character, who I am, and I've been in this business a long time. And I don't have to go throw chairs in the room to make my point, right? You know what I mean? I have an opinion. I give that opinion. We agree, walk down the room, what we're going to do, and we go forward. And I think you saw that this season. We played really well as a unit. We played well as a staff. And how much testimony do you need?
Yeah, well, when you think about, especially the way the defense played down the stretch, second half of the year in the playoff, when you think about staff, players, talent, experience coming together, just what's your evaluation of how the Ohio State defense played?
All right. Did you guys? Oh, you probably didn't hear that part. Okay. So let me kind of. Sorry about that. And let me repeat that. I think I try to get to the first-hand information. The only first-hand information I can get from this is from Denzel Burke in his interview, and he mentioned that there was some heat in the coaching staff meetings, and only one guy was willing to stand up against. He didn't mention names, but I suppose it was Jim Knowles, and the guy that's willing to stand up is Larry Johnson. So Larry is, he was here when Ohio State won the last championship, so he's been here for a long time, and he's well respected. So it's no doubt that he probably doesn't really give a shit, and so I think there are two ways to look at that. For one is it may not be that well. This is at least that's Larry's interpretation. To Larry, he's trying to do his job, right? He's trying to maximize his the team's performance, and the national championship is a testimony to that. And but on the other hand, I think Denzelberg was telling something there. There got to be something in the room. So it might be more of a personality match or something like that. I don't know. But this is interesting information here. And now there's Matt Patricia, and Matt Patricia is unique in this situation because he's much younger. He's like almost 30 years younger than Larry Johnson, and but he's also much more accomplished. He has Super Bowl rings to show for. So the dynamic would be interesting. I just hope that Matt would have enough respect for Larry, so they can work together. I mean, I understand ego. When you are successful, when you are the very best at what you do, you tend to have ego. But there's also another thing is about you do what's right for the players, what's right for the team, what's right for the game. If you say you're a football guy, you respect football. It's like if you are a badminton, like I coach badminton, I don't stick to my own opinions. Just say, I believe this is right, this got to be right. I'm willing to, you got to respect the game. So what does the game say? If it's right for the game, it's right for the game. It's not about me, it's about the game. So I don't know. It's just the way I think. So now I want to summarize a little bit about, because there are so many things. I just love listening to the coaches talk, and I love learning football directly from them, and I love to learn the dynamics about the team from them. So that's just great for me to see. I'm just kind of football junkie, what can I say? So I listen to all these interviews of different coaches, and the overall impression I got is everybody is confident, everybody is more relaxed than before, and I'm not talking about intensity. The intensity is still there. They still, when they talk football, they are very to the point, very in depth, and very informative. I'm talking about the kind of the psychology, the atmosphere is a little bit relaxed, and that's great to see. Now they have that kind of confidence because they have a ring now. Now they have a real ring, a national championship ring. Nobody can take it away, and all the respect is different. Even the questions are worded differently. So I just love that, and I also think if you look back at Ryan Day's coaching staff from 2019 to this year, I think this is the best coaching staff, even better than last year. Not just, I think what he did is this: he hired a great defensive coordinator. I think that's a great hire, and the offensive coordinator is still a little bit to be proved for Brian Hartline to see if he can really do call the plays. And it's still to be seen because a couple years ago he tried that, it didn't really work out. But I think what's great about Brian Hartline is his open-mindedness, his constant learning mindset. He learned so much from Chip Kelly in the last year, and so on and so forth, and I have confidence in him. I think he's going to be okay. I'm not saying everything will be smooth sail from now on, but I think he will be fine. There might be a little bit hiccup along the way, but it will be fine. And then the coaching staff are basically all younger players, other than Larry, of course, but Larry is Larry, every other players, other coaches are young ones, and the thing about the young people is that the only thing they don't have is experience. What they do is they can be great football mind, and they are energetic, and they can do a lot of things. Now, experience is important, especially to college football, but there are other ways to supplement that, and Ryan Day specifically did that. He hired several very experienced people to be the analyst. The analysts it's almost like a cheat code, because when the coaches can do the job, they can do the job, and these analysts can just step back and watch. But when they are needed, they can step in and do the job, pick up where it's left off. So this is almost like a perfect situation there. So clearly the coaching staff is great, and but this year is going to be another challenge, because it's going to be reload, rebuild, whatever you call it. But because so many people like over 15, 16 people, 17 left the team, the starters, the important players. So you need to refill every position. But I'm very excited to see what's going to happen. So, and I cannot wait for the new season to start. And so that will be it for today's episode. And please subscribe and come back, and go Bucks.